Hello everybody, welcome back to Disappointing Turtle. I'm Creed and today we're going to be talking about nap, what that means and the benefits that you can gain from having it. Nap can mean two different things. It can either mean non-aggression pact or no attack pact. Either way, they both mean exactly the same thing and they serve the same purpose. As I've said lots of times in most of my previous videos, to be fair, every kingdom is completely different. So they all do nap completely differently. It depends how the R5 and the kings have decided to set it up and what everybody is agreed on. Sometimes it is the top 10 alliances who decide essentially what happens. Sometimes it can change from king to king. The nap that we have at the moment is that we do not hit any tagged castles because that essentially means that they belong to an alliance. So it doesn't matter whether you are within alliance boundaries or if you are outside of your alliance territory, you still can't be hit as long as you're wearing those tags. It's also a bit of a no-no to actually drop tags. I mean, don't get me wrong, if you're going to pop into your farm alliance or anything like that, then I doubt anybody's going to bat an eyelid, and vice versa as well if you're bringing your farm into your alliance. And by drop tags, what I mean is to actually just drop tags, not have any affiliation, and then to go and hit somebody rogue, as we've also talked about before. Other types of nap that I have seen include nap between just the top 10. So everybody else is fair game. We did actually have that in 433 for a little while, but ultimately when we sat down and really thought about it, it probably wasn't very fair. The top 10 were essentially dictating who could and couldn't grow, which probably isn't the best way, especially at the beginning of kingdoms, before you've got into KVK and all of that sort of thing. Everybody is pretty much in the same position. You're all trying to build from scratch. So having a constant hindrance from KE and having people constantly burning it down, well, everything, castles, alliance fortresses, you name it, it's not great. It's a lot of wasted time and effort, essentially, I think, on everybody's part. Even if you're the person doing the attacking and you're quite enjoying yourself and having a good time, you still have to make up that troop loss at the end of the day. You could be actually building up quite a big army so that when you do get to these KVKs and other events that you don't get to partake in, you are strong enough, and you have a good army and you're securing that your resources are being well spent. They are maximising what you have rather than building up, breaking down, building up, breaking down, building up, breaking down. This gives you a nice steady pace having nap in the kingdom, and it gives everybody a chance to get on a sort of even keel. So, in those scenarios, it actually doesn't really matter whether you're a spender or a non-spender. You still have a good chance of being able to progress much quicker and a lot further. Another nap that I've seen is essentially if you're in your alliance territory, then you're safe, but if you leave, then you're open to attack. I suppose actually that's quite good if you want to try and keep balance. I don't think that's actually such a bad way of doing it. Somebody posted a question up on Facebook, the unofficial, the other day, and they were asking about, what do they do when they've got rogues and bullies in the kingdom? Would it not be a good idea to send all of the bigger castles somewhere else? Which, sounds ideal and lovely. Obviously it isn't, because if you've got just C20s, C25s trying to fight KVK, you are not going to get very far. You need those big castles. You all actually need each other. I think that's the learning experience of the game, is that actually you do have to rely on other players and other castles, whether they're big or small. That's part of the progress. That's teamwork at the end of the day. But that question did get me to thinking, what would a good solution be where you could have this sort of balance and it was agreed upon by everybody else. And I don't know if there are any kingdoms that do this. If there are, please let me know down in the comment section. But I was kind of toying with the idea of, what if you had an optional nap? So the alliances that wanted to do KVK could partake, but just keep it to those alliances. And the ones that want nap can stay within their nap. That would essentially, when you have older kingdoms and it starts to get a little bit stale, and you've got lots of C40s, and people are starting to sell their accounts and things like that, which happens quite a lot, that would maybe put interest back in the game, make it a little bit more exciting. And actually, until that person had posed that question, it wasn't something that necessarily I had considered before. I'm not sure if it is something that would even work, but maybe it's something that could be explored in the future. Not every kingdom has nap, of course, and I always imagine them to be these lawless Mad Max kind of places. Of course they're not, literally. Most of them probably function perfectly well. I just have a wild imagination. But listen, I think it is part of human nature to actually end up forming some sort of hierarchy. Sometimes I don't think that we even do it intentionally, we just gravitate towards that. There's always people that need guidance, so they will pick people out that they trust or that they want to confide in. And then other people will go to those people and more people, and then before you know it, you're an R5. That's just the way it goes. There's always lots of questions that come up about what people should do about rogues. Go to your R5s. Go to your kings. Everybody needs to band together to fix that sort of thing. Those sort of problems cannot be solved by one person unless the one person causing the issues decides to stop. But at the end of the day, you need to give them incentive to do that. There's a reason why they're going rogue, and usually it is because of boredom. So that issue obviously needs to be addressed, whether that person is taken into a very active alliance so that they're kept busy 24/7, or whether there is some sort of nap agreement, like I suggested earlier, where you have people who essentially opt in and opt out of the agreement. As far as KE is concerned, if you've got 10 people that all want to war, not because they have any dislike for each other or anything like that, but because that is the game, let them. As long as they're not harming the other people within these sort of agreements, then they're only going to be doing harm to themselves. If it keeps them interested in playing the game, then that can only benefit the kingdom, surely. Resources are obviously a commodity in the game. So when you're in the early stages of those kingdoms, every bit of iron and silver goes a really long way. It's not until, that you start to get into the sort of C30s plus that things to get super duper duper expensive. When you're in those early stages, it's because everybody kind of joins a kingdom around the same time, everybody sort of jumps into it and just goes bonkers. So everybody does generally hit and attack each other. It does take learning and experience to kind of stop doing that, but I do know some kingdoms that don't have nap, introduce nap, have it for a little while, and then revert backwards. And that can be for a number of reasons. It could be a change in management, if you like, or it could be because a king has come in and has decided to change the rules. There can be lots of different reasons, but ultimately in those first stages of kingdoms is when it is detrimental, because that's when people are hard grafting and putting a lot of time and effort into building their castles. And it's in those early stages where people tend to get discouraged and will quit the game. and nobody wants a dead kingdom. That is possibly the worst situation to be in, is a kingdom that nobody wants to be in. Whether it's because it's not active, or because you do have somebody going rogue and essentially terrorizing everybody, and that forces them to quit. It is, in my opinion, better to snub the rogue and have one less person than it is to have that one person essentially drive out 10 or 20. Those little guys that people like to feed off of are the next generation of fighter. We should be looking after them and making sure that they understand how the game works and helping them grow and giving them direction. Because when we hang up our castles, as it were, they're the ones that are going to be left keeping our kingdoms going. The places that, you know, presumably we care about to a degree. You know, it's kind of a life away from life, isn't it? You build up these social groups and things, and it does become a kind of small family unit. That's why I wanted to cover these sort of topics, because yes, it is a war game, and it is, or was, a statistical game, but it's also a very political game, and you need to be thinking up here about what you're going to do next, not just in terms of gear and gems, but everything. You know, who are you going to rely on? Who are you going to talk to for this? What person knows everything about this topic? You know, it's a huge game, and it does have this hierarchical sort of system, and NAP kind of comes into play with that, because essentially when you have your R5s and they come together to find solutions and resolutions for the kingdom, NAP usually is the easiest thing to sort of go to. It's less time consuming, it's rules across the board that everybody can follow, it's easily understood, and obviously it's a term that's thrown around quite a lot. So it tends to be the sort of go-to. Ultimately, the reason why these NAPs get put into place is so that you can win KVK. When you start going into KVK, you will realise, and again, kingdoms do everything different, this, what I'm saying, is not gospel by any means, but you will find ways of handling KVK. Us personally, we have an alliance that we all go to. We all join a 4-3-3 alliance so that we can take part together from that alliance. That means that when we take the towers and when we take the palace, you don't have opposing alliances who essentially can fire onto the palace with the cannons from the towers. Being in one alliance means that we are united, we are all fighting together. When you have KE and rogues and things like that, it can create hostile environments, and with that, people do not want to participate in KVK because, well, the simple matter is they don't want to play with people that they don't like, and in some circumstances I can understand, but ultimately it's a very small fraction out of your gaming time. You don't have to talk to these people. All you have to do is sit in alliance with them and do what you're supposed to be doing and hope that they do what they're supposed to be doing. You don't have to interact. All you have to do is win. And it is my opinion that NAP is the foundation for being able to do that. But thank you very much, guys, for watching another one of my videos. Don't forget to subscribe and click the bell if you want to get some notifications. Thank you so much for your time. As always, have a lovely day, guys. Take care.